dancing, bro. Chill out.
Suckers try to battle, but they get their heads burst. Suckers try to battle, but they get their heads burst. Suckers try to battle, but they get their heads burst. Suckers try to battle, but they get their heads burst. Suckers try to battle, but they get their heads burst. Suckers try to battle.
What's up, everyone? We got episode number 44 of the It's Just Breaking podcast. And with us, representing from Mississauga, he's a legend and a pioneer in the Canadian breaking scene. And he's also the founder of the legendary Ground Illusionz crew. We have Bboy Frost. It's about to get chilly up in here. That's why we're all wearing hoodies, baby. Let's go.
Yo, Frost, what's up?
Yo, it's a long time coming, bro. Of course, we're gonna get a legend like you on, yo. We're just lazy,
I'm
bro.
still around. I'm not a legend.
It's just a matter of time, bro. It's just a matter
Yo,
of
living
time.
legend, yo. That's the right term for that. A living legend. Let's go.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Yo, Frost, what's going on with you nowadays, yo? What's happening?
I'm working in Hamilton full time as a provincial youth outreach worker.
Oh,
And,
true.
No shit.
Yeah. I've been doing that, and been still sharing knowledge with people who reach out.
Yeah, it's sick.
Focused a lot on music right now, so pretty much that's what's going on.
Yo, coincidentally,
Hey, yo.
James is actually moving to Hamilton for his new
That's what
job,
I was about to
yo.
say.
Oh, really? Oh man, we have to link up then.
Hell yeah. I was
That's
just about to
ill.
ask that
Wow,
shit.
crazy.
Talking to Luskin, he was saying that he's like, Frost wants a session too. And I'm like, oh, sick. Word.
Yeah, sick. Wow, that's good. Yeah, we're gonna build it up there some more.
Bald guys with beards unite, bro.
Yo, and the hoodies as well, yo. Let's go.
Yeah, maybe winter I'll grow it again. Maybe we'll see.
True.
I'll
But
just
yeah.
copy whatever you do, yo.
Thanks very much. I'm not even happy with everything I do, so that's good.
I'll just
All right,
be the
yo.
little minion in
Cool.
the back.
So let's get on with this, yo. So Frost, yo, being a
Mm.
legend in the breaking scene, yo. So what was it like when you first started? Like, when did you start breaking, and how did you
Yeah.
start?
How did you start?
When did I start, and how did I start? I started officially in February '98.
98,
But
damn.
I was watching it for like a whole year before I started, and around that time there was a lot of music videos out there that were that had a lot of breaking in it. So KRS-One Step Into World came out, that was big. Run DMC, Jason Evans. I saw like B-Boy Summit 3 and like a dub triple 50,000 dub tape that was mad crusty and old. Stuff like that, I think also a '98 UK championship was being sold at HMV.
Oh,
so
true.
At HMV?
That's crazy.
Yo.
yeah,
Yo.
man.
Yo,
And
RIP.
I'm the youngest of my entire family, so like my older sister is same generation as Bag of Tricks, and cousins
Oh.
are like older than her. So like I was exposed to a lot of stuff when I was young, and I was like the 8-year-old in the house parties that shouldn't have been there, So for me, when I saw like hip hop and breaking, it made sense to me, but I didn't jump into it until I was like 16, a year after my best friend passed away. So I needed something to do. That was what happened.
Rest in peace to him, yo.
Sorry to hear that, yeah.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
So the way you first got into breaking, was this through like seeing all these like different like videos and like being in these parties kind of thing, like being exposed to breakers?
It was like you're in grade 9 in high school and everyone's breaking around the country.
Really?
You know what I'm
Oh,
saying?
damn, you're different times.
Yeah.
Yo, geez.
That's the generation, because it was hip hop, golden era of hip hop, the 90s to mid 90s big, and then as soon as like 96 97 came out, that's when hip hop was getting more commercial again. And in fact, like Wu-Tang Clan is being played like on the mainstream, Tribe Called Quest being played in the mainstream, so Gang Starr is being played in the mainstream, so we're seeing all the elements on TV, so naturally everybody's interested in breaking, and that's kind of how I got my start too. It was familiar, the sounds and songs were familiar, but I didn't really start touching the floor until 98, the beginning of 98. And some guys encouraged me in my school, big up to Takashi Kuno, Arvin Tupaz, Charles Delano, Hausen, all of them really like big me up, and that's how I started.
Wow, man.
Oh, true. Damn, that's sick, yo. So like obviously you're an OG, but who are your OGs, yo? Who are the ones that taught you? You'd say.
I'm like mid schooler, and there's guys above me that are mid schoolers. But some of the first guys that really took me under their wing was that was outside of the guys I was dancing with, was a guy named Ron Medina, Brian De Makua, Jazzy Jester from Supernaps.
Eric, I know one of these names now.
Yeah, eventually, like a year after I started breaking, well, maybe 6 months after, we met Dizzy, and we met Migas, and then Steve from Back to Basics, Long Shot.
Okay.
And then who else? There was a bunch of other guys, some guys from Top Notch too, that we met. It'll come to me. The names, they kind of escape. But those are some of the first guys that I was dancing around when I started, and a lot of those guys are really encouraging, man. Until we first, we hit up our first like events and stuff. Sean, like Heist. I was gonna call him Fuzz. His old name. So Heist and Migas. That was September '99. They came out. So by this time, after like a year of breaking, the crew was kind of more solidified. It was Overloaded Maneuvers, or OLM. And that was kind of like a secret crew to battle another crew called Shadow Mystics. And then eventually we settled on Ground Illusionz. And Ground Illusionz came, it's a secondary name, It came from an old member, Arvin, and a neighborhood homegirl who's like grew up with the crew. Her name is Pam Lopez. So those two people, they named our crew Ground Illusionz.
Ah, true. So this is like the whole council. Like this is the beginning of the Ground Illusionz crew. Like all these people.
It was mad funny. We had to we weren't really happy with our name, and we were kind of going around our high school with like a list of names. GI we were happy with, but everything before we weren't. We had like funny names and stuff. So eventually that was the coolest name.
Yo, what was the fun? Cause that was one of the fan questions. Like, because someone obviously knew about these names. So what was the funniest name that you guys came up with?
Fucking Mixed Nuts, special effects, special effects crew, Blue Angels.
Blue Angels?
Because Pras came up with this song after Fugees dropped their album, and it was called Blue Angels, and it was like SWAT team, like Navy SEALs going into rescue people. But then later we learned that Blue Angels, when you blow a fart, we can't have that name. We can't have that name. And then Ground Illusionz was the coolest to us because what we were doing on the ground, we wanted to be unique, and also that's this idea of like squashing like anything that was like fraudulent. It was to ground an illusion, so to make it real, like realer than real.
True.
So it's like your fantasy made reality is a grounded illusion, Ground Illusionz.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
I can see. How did naming that name influence like your crew style? It's like basically all Masaga Mans is doing some Ground Illusionz when they throw it down.
Yeah, like the name really inspired us because it was like a new start. We had changed the lineup quite a bit in the first like year. Like at one point there was just 4 or 5 of us, and then there was 13 of us by the time we started meeting guys like Static and Fade. I'm not talking about Jesse Fade. I'm talking about another Fade by the name of Ron, who's from Skills to Kill. So Static was really dope. Fade was really dope. TJ, Dizzy, like they were coming to check us in Mississauga because they linked with Jerome with Fresh Effect.
Oh, true.
And the FIBA basketball club, like the Filipino basketball like association, had like a lot of people meeting. So this is pre-internet. Like internet was just kind of popping off, like Asian Avenue, Black Planet, ICQ, MSN Messenger. Yeah. So these were the ways. It's funny. These are the ways we were able to connect, right? So
Black Planet jokes. Eric was
yeah.
I've heard of it. I've actually heard of it.
Heard of that, eh? Yeah. So these are the ways we linked, and then GI, like Ground Illusionz, was kind of like we were refreshed. We felt like really comfortable and confident getting out there, and our first intention was to battle whoever was local in our city. Including guys like Shadow Mystics or Fraggle Rock or Lakeshore Stranglers or Infinite, Crazy Eights.
Damn, that sounds sick.
Crazy Eights, yeah. There was like a lot of miniature crews, big up to Matt Misfits too. They were our homies, And before we even went to the Toronto scene, we were kind of like more, local. And Ground Illusionz was like our calling card in a sense that we would go out. I know I would skip school a lot or go on a spare and look for breakers. So I developed like my name Frost. That name started coming up because I'd go to schools and I didn't want to give my real name because I didn't want to get in. I was more scared of my parents than anything,
Yeah.
So like, they asked, "What's your name?" I say Frost, and some people would be like, "Oh shit!" Some people would laugh, and then I'd be very serious about it. And so Ground Illusionz always came with that name. And overall, like, to make a longer story short, we all had particular philosophy on what we were doing, because we were looking around us and we saw that we were pretty isolated to some degree, and we knew shit was going on in Toronto, like Bag of Tricks. We saw them on Rap City, Intricate Crew on Rap City, you know, stuff like that. And you know, our main thing was skill, commitment, desire, and creativity. So we put those 4 pillars at the forefront of like what we were doing in the crew. We got really organized, and we just aimed to make an impact, which we did, you know, early on.
Absolutely.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So during this era, so who are like let's say who was your battle squad, and who were like the top crews during that time that year, or your rivals during this era?
So like the first incarnation of this crew, what we called the Ground Illusionz, in March of '99 was myself, Fresh Effects, Charles Delano or Crash, Takashi Kuno. Who else was in the crew? Eventually we met Rubex Cube or Ruben and Arthur, Rubex Cube in Flight, and then Mark Cabuena or Neo Boog. So it was about 5 of us, 5 or 6 of us, and then that's when we started kind of getting out. So our first rivals was again Shadow Mystics. We never really got to battle them though. But yeah, like they kind of quit before we were able to battle. Bro. Well, the thing was, they went to the Unsung B-Boy battle, and I think that was like early '98, and they got really discouraged because Skills to Kill burnt them, and like they won that whole competition, and then their whole high hopes and dreams kind of ended. And it was unfortunate because they were all really talented, really fucking nasty. They were dope, man. And but our next in line was Infinite or Crazy Eights. Eventually they were called that, and rest in peace to Ryan Gozum. Our homie Sam, he kind of ended up battling with us in our first Back to the Underground tournament. Both Ryan and Sam battled with us, but they were in the rival crew. So we battled them a couple of times. And I remember April of '98, there was like a debut happening, like a Filipino like party, celebrating 18th birthday, like tradition. And we're like in the basement of an apartment building, and then TJ and Dizzy showed up to judge this battle between us and Crazy Eights, us and Infinite. Yeah. And that was a very definitive time for us, because like, oh shit, Dizzy's coming to watch like our thing, you know. And yeah, you know, I'm mad young. I was like 17, and that's when we really started to define our crew. Another guy who really helped us out in the early days was Paulo. So Paulo was there. He was like the mouth. He would kind of go around and meet different people who were social, connected us with the right heads. And then eventually we went to the Back to the Underground in November 26, 1999. That's when we met MEC. We met Catalyst as well. Soul Step wasn't in existence yet, but MEC, they were exact same age as us, same generation, and we built like a pact right away called One Unit.
Because we saw unit. Oh shoot.
Nah, that's One Unit. Yeah, like we saw the result of that jam, which got kind of ugly. So we were kind of like, we don't want to feud, we don't want to fight. So like MEC and Ground Illusionz, like for over 20 years, we're like, let's just be brother crews and have Alliance, like we can become. Yeah, we can be competitive and be friendly rivals, but like we don't want to beef, right? So and then Soul Step eventually joined that, and Soul Step was the junior Bag of Tricks. So I'd say Soul Step and MEC were like some of our biggest rivals, and then eventually Supernaturals became our rivals because you know they wanted to kind of induct us into their crew, like into Supernaturals family, but we refuted against it, and they didn't really like it very much.
Oh really?
And
they had a hard something.
Well, they had a hard time because like everybody was like battling them and aggressive with them because of the philosophy that was coming out of that camp at the time. So it was like contrary to what Baggy Tricks was doing, and contrary to what like Top Notch and DDT and Boogie Brats were doing. So like Supernaturals had a history of like everybody was stacked against them. And it had a lot to do simply because there was a mentality in that camp that was contrast to the way everyone else is thinking about how to develop material, how to create material, when to display it, all that type of shit.
Oh, so was was the mentality like something to do with like biting or that kind of thing, like during that time?
It was like
flipping.
from my understanding, it was like, you know, if you take a move and make it better, then it's yours. And it had a lot to do with the fact that because everyone wanted to beat Bag of Tricks, right? Bag of Tricks is a crew to beat. And it was like, you know, at the time, from my understanding, even pre-Dizzy, pre-Skills to Kill, like the original Supernaturals, like Jedi, Curtis, Paul, Revere, like Lego Stripes, all the original Supernaturals really wanted to battle Baggy Tricks, you know? So there was this idea of like, how are you going to be strategic to battle them? And I'm not in that crew, but this is what I've learned over time with guys who I'm close with in that crew, that eventually, you know, certain members of that crew had this mentality of like, well, let's pick off some of the material and make it better. But unfortunately, that mentality doesn't necessarily work in the context of hip hop culture, right? So that's why there was a lot of beef, you know, and not to say that guys in that crew aren't, because I have a lot of friends in Supernatural's crew, you know, big up Paul and again, Jester and Ammo and Knox, and the list goes on, you know. And there was a lot of talented dudes in there. But it's just, you know, rivalry with philosophy of how to do things and how to get your material. That's probably intellectual property is probably the biggest problem. So Ground Illusionz was like, we don't want to be part of any of this shit. We don't want to be part of your crew. We want to start our own thing. We want to have our own dynasty, our own whatever. And that's what happened. We became our own island, and we didn't have a problem. We didn't have beef with nobody. We just did our thing.
One
you know?
jams. You just won events, bro.
Well, we were in a lucky position because we were learning from everybody. We learned from all the major families. We learned from guys in, you know, the Bag of Tricks camp, you know, from Apex, Third Degree, Back to Basics. We learned shit from like Bratz guys. We learned stuff from Top Notch guys, from Intricate guys. And I was getting mentored by Jester. So it was like we were learning from everyone.
True.
You know?
And you mentioned a dynasty, because a dynasty you guys have definitely created. Because when I started breaking, that's when like I grew up seeing like Illz, Burn, Matt D, Rock, you, and like all these people. You guys were winning every single jam. Yo, I was like, yo, Ground Illusion, yo, that's yo. At the time, Supernats was kind of fading out. Like for me, like this is my perspective, and Ground Illusion was winning all the jams, yo. So I was like, yo, this is a dynasty right here, yo.
Yeah, it's a trip
even before
because
our time too.
Yeah. Well, you know that. We had the thing was we were isolated from everybody, so we were in a fortunate position where we can incubate a style and incubate like we knew that we wanted to go to events, and every time we go to these events we didn't want to have the same material, and like individually we weren't all the best, with exception for Fresh Effects, because Fresh Effects was out of the new generation, my generation, he was the best. Him and eventually Pieces, who came on, it was always them two. And of course, Floor Play, big up to Floor Play, Method One before he moved to Ohio. But like, you know, Fresh Effects is the illest, and the rest of us, we had components who were like Voltron. So I was a dancing guy, and the guy who could like dance and like come up with that type of hip hop, like dancing style. And then you had Ruben, who was like the technician, and then you had like Arthur, who was more acrobatic, and then you had Neo, who was like the popper, the boogie boy, and then Crazy Bones, who was also another boogie boy. And we were like Bag of Tricks because we looked up to Bag of Tricks and Spartanic Rockers and shit. And we had Boogie Boys in our crew, you know? And but Fresh Effects was like, he could do everything. So put us together, we had like good chemistry. And a lot of the crews, they had a hard time like battling us, even though they put their crews together, like Mangro Bang, and they'd mash the crews together to beat us. But they couldn't beat us because we were the way we trained and the way that we were like, our chemistry was very strong, even though individually we weren't always the strongest. But together we were very strong. Yeah.
Well, a quick question. What's a boogie boy exactly? Is it kind of like what is a boogie boy?
It's like if you look at like Dedos, you know, like Zebrock and Dedos, like a boogie boy is like, you know, or early Mr. Wiggles, like you're getting your breaking, you're a b-boy style, but like you use like electric boogaloo and robot and pop in and waving, like you mix it all together, you know what I'm saying? So we always looked at, he's a b-boy, but he mixes up the funk styles, so he's a boogie boy. And I was a boogie boy like when I started, like popping and like waving shit was my shit first, and then I started like touching the ground more afterwards. But we knew how to win battles because of the way that we train, and we were really serious about it. Like back when my mom used to fucking drive us in the van, we praying Hail Marys and shit, you know, like we were really like conviction was deep. And you know, because my best friend died, I had like a lot of trauma from that, so like I was really aggressive, and that stuff carried. And a lot of people don't understand my style, my dancing, or my personality, but all that shit has something to do with it, you know. And the other guys in the crew, they were really patient with me, even though I had a hot temper and stuff, but my conviction really helped push them. So we would go to the jams, we'd be meditating in a circle, people would making fun of us, but then we would win the jams, so we'd be like, fuck
Yeah,
you,
man.
you know.
End of the day, the winner gets to talk, baby. Let's go.
Well, you know, whatever, like, you know, winning isn't everything, but at the time it was kind of like that was our main thing, and like we ended up winning so much that for me personally, I didn't really care much about winning anymore, but I passed on, you know, how to have a champion mentality, you know, and that's what I believe. And about like, I can say like recollecting 2003, between 1999 to 2003, that's when we were battling heavy, and then we all kind of went a bit on like a hiatus for a couple of years. Like we were going more to college and shit, like post-secondary education. I had a hernia, like really bad, like I had to get surgery. I was out for like 9 months. So, and I was going to college my second time, and I went to community outreach and development. I was in art school first, then community outreach, and that's what actually allowed me to focus more on rebuilding myself, relearning my foundation, and passing it on at the same time. And the reason why the new generation of Ground Illusionz became successful is because the way I was teaching them was, I was the mentor, I was the teacher, but I was also like the peer as well. Like I was getting my hands dirty, I was sweating and learning just as long, just, you know, same thing as everybody else, and studying and passing it on, right? So it wasn't like a hierarchy where, you know what I'm saying, I was delegating everything completely. It was more like I'm there with everybody. We were doing like community development 101. Everything I was learning in school, I was applying, you know?
To your crew.
Yeah, man.
That's
And
sick,
then Fresh Effects came back and shit, and you know, Willie Ways joined the crew, Matt D joined the crew, you know, Damon came around, I was teaching him, Yumi, like a whole new generation of people came out, and all the original guys came back. So that's when it was like not like 2007 and shit, 2008, you know. 2008 everybody came back, and like that's when 2007, like Puzzle, because I'm really close with Puzzles, he was another one of my mentors, like Savio, and Savio and Bridge were like, yo, why don't you join, like, you know, Supernaturals and join with us, you know? And I said, sorry guys, I can't. If you change the name, I'll join, you know, like,
true.
Yeah. I mean, like, you know, at the time it is what it is, but like, they were like, all right, you know, so like, we're going to call supernatural beings. All right. And I was like, nah, that's supernatural, you know, cause you know, next thing I know, like, you know, Gizmo was practicing with us too. Like that was underground, and he didn't want anybody to like know, because he didn't want to get called out or anything like that. But like Gizmo was practicing with us for a good like 3 years solid, man. So like Gizmo is one of my fucking teachers, man. He helped us a lot in the early like when we were like stacking and building the crew, he was really there. And Gizmo found out, like, he's like, yo, are you gonna join Supernaturals? I was like, no. I'm close to showing them, but I'm not joining.
Damn.
And he's like, oh, thank God, you know.
Back then
it
that
was
time,
different.
And even now, your Supernaturals, you're always in that kind of controversy.
Yeah, but you know, big up to Supernaturals, you know, like big up to Jedi. Jedi's another one of my mentors, original Supernaturals, you know, like it's just mentality. But you know, there's a lot of cool people, like there's a lot of cool people in all the crews, man. Every crew, everyone, there's so many cool people, man. It's just philosophy that changes it, you know.
For sure.
Yeah, so that's pretty much kind of how the new generation started. It was like me doing all the community work. I was running like 6 different community centers, like sessions in 6 different places. I was starting to throw jams for the city. It was my full-time fucking job, man. Like
right on, man.
Since 2004 all the way to maybe 2 years ago, I lived as an artist 100%. I didn't have a fucking part-time job. I wasn't working in a, you know, like in a bar or nothing like that. I was working straight up as a breaker, you know, as a performer, as a professional artist. And I paid for all my university with that shit, traveled around the world, you know, I flew myself out before I got flown out, you know what I mean? To earn that knowledge and all that shit. And I passed it on, you know, because all the guys who were supportive of me, who took me under their wing, you know, whether it was like Tango or like Deadly or Migas, like any of these guys, man, they were so generous and humble with their knowledge, and they just pass that shit on. So that's what I do.
You want to do it now. That makes sense.
Yeah, oh yeah, like, well, I've been doing that, right?
Exactly.
Been doing that, yeah, for sure, man. Why not?
True. So I guess going
to divert a little bit of like that, what you just said right there. You're saying you travel, you know. How'd you get into 20th Century Boys?
20th Century Boys, 20th Century Bboys. I got into their crew because my partner, she's from Japan, and I started an initiative with her, and it's called Story Time. So one of our crew members who we met in 2009, Tiny Touch, from Flow Kick's crew, Tiny and Nagisa, and also Ach from Westo crew, from Nagisa's crew, they all obviously knew each other. So when I linked with them, I started doing community initiatives in Japan, touring Japan, and teaching all over the country. And while I was there, Dark Horse, he had heard about what I was doing. And then when he got flown out here, I think Minji and Tiff flew him out here for the jam in Kingston. Yeah. And then, I hit it off with him and Fox, and we just got along like right away. We were just like same age, same mentality. Like we had such a good time. And then he's like, hey, man, come to Korea. I said, I promise I'm going to come. So next time I was in Japan for the Storytime event, I actually flew over to 20th century anniversary. And I jammed there. They had me teaching workshops. And as soon as they saw me teaching, literally they made a decision to put me down.
Yo, that's sick,
yeah, it was cool. And I ended up being the oldest guy. So they poured my drink first, And Vicious got put down as well. So
Vicious is also in that crew too? Damn.
Yeah, so Vicious and I are crewmates in that crew, and they're an awesome crew. They're so talented, those guys, and they're so generous people. Yeah,
sick, yo.
Man.
Now a lot of our viewers grew up watching Burns, Illz, and Ali, especially since they're like killing it right now. So like I guess a lot of them are wondering, so for example, like how did Burns first get into GI? I guess we'll go on with the three, but how did Burns get into GI?
I'll be right back. I just gotta get my charger. My bad. Sorry, dog.
Yeah, you don't gotta take a shit, eh? I'm playing.
My phone's taking a shit, bro.
So Brandon, I got hit up by Tango from Back to Basics from Bag of Tricks, and like Merv, Tango is family friends with Brandon.
Okay.
So Brandon was already getting down for like a year, and he sent Brandon to the community center, and I met his dad and him, and Brandon was mad little. He was only like, I think 15 or something like that. 15, not even 16 yet, 14, 15. And I just started passing on knowledge to him, and he would come back every week with new material, and he would like, his retention was very good. He was smart young boy, and he had a lot of potential. It was just very cool, and he just kept enjoying getting down with us. And a lot of the material that he was learning was an amalgamation of myself, Willie Ways, Fresh Effects, Matt, like all of us, Matt Kang, Matt Kang, by the way, shout out to Matt Kang, the 12 Step. He joined the crew in 2003. So like Ruben and Arthur put him and Key down from Tripline. So they got down. So Matt Kang was also around helping us out and contributing quite a bit. So like Brandon was like, catching, stuff from all of us. But when he came to us, he had like Rocksteady influence. So he was doing like crazy like stuff, Ken Swift stuff, things. He had a good solid foundation first. And then we gave him the means to think outside the box and to become like effective with his messages and his ideas, So that's pretty much Brandon. Yeah.
True. And
he battled with us in 2008. Yeah.
I was gonna say
that legendary battle.
That was like, I think that might have been like my second or third. That's probably my first big Toronto jam. Was that one? I was like too afraid to even battle, and I remember Burn fucking destroying it. Kid.
And in a showcase, he was killing it. But he actually battled with us before that. He battled with us at Trinity Church at a jam, I think called Funk for Your Feet or something. No, I'm wrong. I'm incorrect. It was Unsung B-Boy Battle by Glizzy, Mariano, and they held that shit at Trinity Church. And he battled with myself, Matt D, and Flight. And it was like his first battle. So then afterwards, he went to Fever for the Flavor. And by the time Anthony was coming around, my girls was coming around. So yeah, it was Burn first, and then I met Anthony at a video shoot for Daytona, and Drunken Monks were there. So Drunken Monks got put in the video, but we didn't get put in the video.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah, it was fucking whack. It was straight bias and shit. But like, when I met Anthony, he was very polite, and he's like, oh, he knew who I was. I was surprised. and he was just very respectful. And I didn't really see him until like a year after at the Supernatural's 13-year anniversary. It was a Toronto style battle. And I think that was in the summer or spring or some shit. And then I went to the battle. I ended up winning the battle.
You battled him in the finals or something, right?
I battled him in the finals, And then afterwards I said, hey man, I see where your head is at. And you know, I got a good impression. He was very like respectable. And then I asked him to come along, you know, and he just started showing up to Saga. And then every time he show up, it was like same time Brandon was coming around, and then Jurock started coming around. So like they were the same age. So they were kind of getting like inspired also by the guys that I was teaching. I started teaching from scratch, like Mike B, you know, we taught Mike B from scratch, and Kevin Semple, and like a lot of these other dancers, Christian, Yumi, Damon, all of them. So they were intermingling with everybody. And then Brandon and Illz had like a lot of chemistry. So that's kind of how it started, and Jurock as well. So that's kind of how I met those guys.
That was the trio.
Yeah. Like Ali came afterwards, you know, it was actually Jurock, Burn, and Illz. And Jurock got recruited, in fact, by Neo and Fresh Effects at Street Dance Academy, and actually 12 Step as well. So he started coming around practice, and eventually Ali later on, maybe like a couple of years after, something like that, maybe even a little bit later, to be honest. Ali was that kid in the corner of the room doing flares, but he couldn't do anything else. He's super shy, didn't talk to nobody.
Oh really?
He's different than he is now.
And
he was, right? Well, we all change, we all grow, right? But he came along, and I started teaching Ali. And around 2011 or 2010, I believe, myself and Damon Nomad, who was like my first student through the community programs, we wrote a grant to United Way, and it was a community action grant. It was it was, you know, it was called Rhythm, and it was a grant that was like, you know, there wasn't a lot of money. It just paid for the space. It paid for us to have like, you know, go to and fro and like get them shirts, you know, and stuff like that. But I developed a 12-week program, and it was literally twice a week, about 2.5 hours a week. And then there was a session in the middle of that. So it was like Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. And they did this for 12 weeks. And what I did was I cross-pollinized the arts in order to teach them. And that was the first kind of like thing for Full Step Saga, my business later on. And it was like, you know, you want to be a wicked breaker, but you should probably learn from a musician about the music. Or you want to design stuff in your dancing, you should speak to someone who's a designer. Or you want to communicate your messages, let's have an MC teach you. I started really honing in and having kind of like a university style where they were gathering the material and getting like watching videos. I'd read excerpts from books. I would go and I would study and bring this material. And then there would be more of a practicum after the session. So it'd be Tuesday, you're learning the knowledge. Wednesday, you come to practice like normal. Thursday, you apply the knowledge. And the acceleration of the development was fucking unbelievable. And that's, you know, we did that rhythm program for 3 years straight. So it was like that combined with all the open sessions that I was having. Like we were having 30 people a session just in Mississauga alone. And what was ill was that Damon and Christian and Aaron and some of the other guys in the new generation crew, they were going around to different high schools and they were teaching people. So then it was like they start having students, which start having students, which start having students. So I ended up becoming like a great grandfather. Next thing I know, these guys are throwing their own jams like in gyms and shit. And I'm like, holy fuck, man. And this thing is spreading and it's incredible.
That's sick,
so it was a very inclusive mentality, and our sessions were very instrumental into that. The sessions were a lot different than Toronto sessions. I found that the Toronto sessions were everyone was sitting around observing what you're doing, and then they would bite your shit, or they would criticize you, or they would you know, they would be smiling to your face, but then like saying something out. And I didn't like that type of vibe. I'm a very straight up person. I'm a very real person. I say what I feel. I say what I mean, what's on my mind and what's on my heart. And whenever we were in Mississauga sharing the knowledge with people, there was no ego. Everyone was there to help each other get better. And it's always been that way. And that's why the crew became successful, is because there was no bullshit. we knew that it was bigger than us, and our intention was to just grow and spread the culture, make it accessible for people who wanted it. You know what I'm saying? Straight up, that's what it was, man.
Sure, yo, you gave birth to my crew holding us rivals, yo, Sinister Syndicate, yo, like Louis,
Oh,
Shazam,
yeah.
all of them, bro. Those are my rivals
Yeah.
at the time, yo, shit.
Yeah, those guys were in the rhythm program. Yeah, man, I was really proud of what they did, man. They did a
Yeah.
lot. Yeah.
That's sick. And
They're
now
awesome.
I guess to quickly bring that up. So now they're basically like the new gen of GI, right? Because now like since
Yeah.
Ground Illusionz, like I think Louis is in it, Gallo is in it,
Louis and Gallo, yeah.
and
More
Tony.
recent guys.
Yeah, so that's like the new gen.
Yeah, there's a lot of dudes. What was the last name?
Tony Vu.
Tony. Yeah, Tony Vu, absolutely. Tony Tang. So yeah, yeah, Nagisa too, you know.
Yeah,
So
Nagisa,
like
yeah.
So they're more recent guys, but it's all like, you know, it's all family, you know. Sinister Syndicate was their own like clique and the crew that they kind of had, and then some of the guys who were very, you know, adamant on being around us in a certain way and started to like show the 4 pillars, you know, the skill, commitment, desire, creativity amongst our crew. Everyone agreed, and there was like little processes that we had, you know, like there was like, we still kept the overload name, and that was more for people who were training,
Right.
you know. And that first actually really came out when Rubex Cube was trying to join the crew, because Ruben and Arthur in 99 were interested in joining the crew, but they were in between another group from another high school.
Okay.
So literally they kind of practice, learn a little bit, and then go to Father Gates where they were from. And then like the other guys in this other crew were trying to like get them recruited, and they were like, okay, we're going to join that crew. And then that crew fell off and they came kind of back to us and shit.
I see,
But Arthur stayed loyal. And then Ruben was like, can I come back? And we were like, you know, and then we actually at the debut when Dizzy was there and TJ and stuff, that's actually when, you know, Ruben was like, yo, can I join the crew? And he asked Arthur because they were best buddies.
Oh, all right, yo, sorry about that, Frost. You know, we're cheap B-boys, yo. We're cheap B-boys.
No, it's just a platform, you know. That's how it works, man.
We gotta get the Patreon popping. Shout out to the Patreon, by the way. $1 a month. That's all it costs to support some local B-boys.
Yes, let's go.
You know, we're getting some shirts done. We're looking out. We're gonna have an episode with the Patreon soon. Join the Patreon.
Sick.
Let's go. Yeah, James,
Nice.
what was your question?
Oh shoot, yeah. So finish off what you were gonna say for us, and I got 2 quick questions.
I can't remember what I was saying. What was I saying? Sorry.
Yeah, no worries. Yeah.
Was it Rubex? Rubex had the bag to get back in. Yeah.
Right. He had to really, you know. I mean, and then you know, Jerome was like, no, and I'm like, come on, like, you know, I need another Caucasian guy in the crew.
Oh, yo, let's go, yo. Keep the mixed nuts, yo.
The mixed nuts, man. And Ruben, you know, he's German and he's, you know, he's Cuban as well.
Oh, okay.
You know, German Cuban guy. So, anyways, he ended up battling me on that day, and you know, I mean, I burnt him, but he came to practice and he fucking trained his ass off. And the thing was, we told him, we're like, you're not in Ground Illusionz yet. And even after he battled with us in the first battle, we're like, you're not full crew member yet. It was only until literally a week after, in December, the beginning of December 99, we actually we went on Jonovision on CBC. And it was like a talk show, and we were performing with Cardinal and Solitaire and Chaclair.
Ooh, that's sick.
Before Cardinal blew up, and Chaclair dropped his album there, and that's when we put Ruben down in the elevator.
Oh,
We're like, all right,
nice.
we're like you're officially Ground Illusionz, you know, and
Nice.
and he was emotional about it. It was like a serious, like, it's a brotherhood, you know, it's a family, literally, it's a family, and it's like, you know, we just kept that flow for the remainder of the history of the crew. Like, really, you have to really fucking earn it to be in the crew. You got to spend years with us. You got to spend time with us, you know, and if you want to be in the crew, you have to go through a lot of different things to be in it. It's not just, you know, I mean, like Illz and Brandon, you know, they came around and it was good timing for them. So like in some sense, they kind of subsided the overload, but not really, to be honest, not really. Because I only considered them main members years after. So that's the truth.
That's good.
You know, it's always, you know, we build it slowly.
Mhm.
It always
So my
has been that
question
way.
is, how many members are there in GI?
Currently,
Mhm.
Just in general, like all time,
oh,
currently and all time.
over
bro.
50,
Army, bro.
over
It's
50,
an army,
over
bro.
50.
Holy
over
shit.
50.
It's got an army. This guy said.
It's over 50. There's been a lot of people who've contributed to this crew, and a lot of
Mhm.
people who, even if they don't dance anymore, they still like contributed. You know what I'm
Mhm.
saying?
Yeah.
It's a big deal. That's why we have a lot of pride in our crew. You know, it's not
I
like
heard,
a wishy-washy thing.
I heard that you guys you got so many members that you guys spelled out the name G and I, spelled out GI, and you had like an aerial shot.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, our friend Megan, she did a photo shoot with us in 2009, and like it was at the community center we practiced at, and she went onto the roof. We climbed the roof of the community
my
center,
God.
and she
Got
was like,
picture,
"Hey, she was like, I have this idea," and then she told us like, "Good in a big GI," and we were all. It was a big joke to us, and it was really funny and a lot of
It's
laughs. But we took the picture like that, yeah.
Just true crew things, yo. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, the thing was we wanted to have my intention was to have all the members to be proficient at teaching, at
Mhm.
battling, and at performing. You got to be a triple threat.
Mhm.
And like there was so many different members of the crew that everybody, you know, we had MCs in the crew, guys who were writing, like doing graph, people were making music, you know, the dancers. It was like it's a hip hop collective.
Mhm.
That's what it
Oh,
grew
yeah.
into.
That's sick.
Yeah. There's
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot of people over time.
I guess the last thing is just like pretty quick, like I don't have 50 members in my crew, but we have like a pretty healthy amount, like 13ish, I think.
That's
Maybe
a
a
lot
bit more.
still.
Yeah.
Still a
That's
lot,
surprising, yeah.
Mhm.
How do you like
Keep in touch?
combat the clickiness? You know, that too.
Oh,
But like how do you
yeah.
like the clickiness? Because like my
Yeah.
crew, we have times where we're clicky, but like, you know, we're still family, all hang out together.
Mhm.
But you know,
Mhm.
I don't know.
Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, we've dealt with that in our crew. Like there's people who have, you know, like I don't kick people out of my crew. They kick themselves
Same.
out.
Mhm.
Yeah,
You
same,
know,
same.
that's the main thing. It's the most important thing that kept the crew together for so many years. And when it was like, you know, the most successful in our relationship was that we were consistent with our meetings.
Mm.
Yeah.
You guys had like
We're
meetings, like
consistent with
sit down, chill.
meeting. It's frozen, I think, on your end,
Oh.
maybe.
Let's see. Oh, Frost, right
I'm just
now.
gonna pause for a second until it opens up again.
Oh, there you go,
It's
there you
back,
go,
it's
there you
back.
go.
Okay, we're good.
Mhm.
So the main thing was that having clear objectives, like short-term goals
Mhm.
that we can all agree on. That's one. Having a value system about the crew is two. You know, or you know, they're interchangeable. They're both important equally. Having consistent meetings and gatherings. So at session, we sacrifice time to be like, all right, session's done. We're gonna meet for like an hour or like half an hour, whatever, and talk about what's going on. And you need somebody to that person. Yeah, that person was me. You know, I was the one who was like guiding the crew on what shows to do, which battles to reach. Like I was managing the crew at the same time. I was like the top competitor at the time. So it was my life 100%, you know? And also you need somebody to take minutes, like a meeting, to keep track of what you're talking about and to follow through, you know? So when you are constantly discoursing around the intention about why you're doing what you're doing and where the direction is going, it helps a lot. And especially when you're keeping an open dialogue. And one of the challenges with our crew is that the generation gap was very big, and I'm the oldest of everyone. So it's like some of the guys looked up to me like big brother, you know, and still do to some capacity, you know. And a lot of the guys came from, you know, single parent families and stuff like that. So sometimes if they had opinions, they'd be afraid to say them to me. So then they would say them to Fresh or to, you know, other guys in the crew, and then eventually it would get to me. But I think some of the times we negated that was when we, you know, did normal everyday shit. Yeah,
chill and eat.
Yeah, but here's the difference between our crew and a lot of other crews who are local even, is that because there's so many different generations in this crew, you have like a 25-year-old young man with like a 12-year-old boy in the crew. So it's kind of like we had to be very careful with the habits and the things that we were doing. Like if I'm smoking weed, I'll not be smoking in front of the kids. Shit like that. You know, I'm not fucking drinking alcohol in front of kids. Stuff like that. You know, being belligerent or talking shit. Stuff like that. We were very like You know, like
Responsible, very
we're trying our
influence.
best to be. We're trying our best to be. You know, like we're. Here's the thing: is a lot of people I know, they big themselves up on the foolishness, on the fuckery. Like, oh, I drink 40s, I smoke weed. Big fucking deal. I don't give a shit. You know, the amount of like substance I've done in my life, you wouldn't even believe the kind of things I've done in my life. But it's not stuff that we romanticize. We don't care about that shit. It was cooler to us and cooler to be a kind person, to be someone who is actually respectable with the things that you're trying to do. You know, we're all human. We all fuck up here and there. But because we were a multi-generation crew and we had females in our crew too, it was like, we need to watch our conduct and we need to have some class with how we're doing shit. And we need to try to have some class, you know what I'm saying? So that was one of the main differences of what, you know, made our crew grow, you know what I'm saying? And what actually made a differential between us and a lot of other crews, really. And we were a very diverse community. We were a community, like, you know, we're all from different backgrounds, different religions, different all kinds of shit, you know what I mean? And we weren't a crew that was like a show crew, like for business, although we performed a lot. We always had this discussion: are we going to be a not-for-profit? Are we going to be business? And we're always like, no. We are community development, grassroots community collective. And we're a family, and that's what it is. So that completely changes the dynamics and what allowed Ground Illusionz to become what it is today.
Makes sense, yo. Ground Illusionz.
You know?
Do you find do you find it hard to find new students or new like participants to come to like full steps or your events or whatever? Because like for us, like where we are in Pickering, it's like we want to do all that shit, but we don't have like the new generation of like kids. But like I always see like in Saga, you always got like the new batch is out. Let's go. But like we have trouble trying to find new people. Even like
that's the problem. One of the big problems right now in the breaking scene is no new gen. So I guess like how do we get it?
It's a good question. You know, part of it has to do with what's going on in the media. That's one of it. That's a realistic thing, you know, what's going on in the media. And also, you know, I really did my best to build an infrastructure in the city that was conducive and inclusive of people coming in. So whether it was like having classes before the session that the participants in the classes can go to the session for free, that was very helpful, you know. That also like throwing community events and having other artists involved. So my thing has always been, since before the crew got like bigger and all that stuff, I always went to like open mic nights. I always went to band nights. I always collaborated with other artists outside of breakdancing and hip hop. I'm always around so many different types of artists my whole life. So it's like that shit helped significantly because, you know, we're gathering all these different people and it became a household name type of deal. And it's like, where are you going to go if you want to learn how to break? Well, I have connections in the city. I have connections in Mississauga News. I got connections with this artist and these bands, and we were touring with these people. And then eventually that was really helpful. And to have, like, for example, programming that is conducive to actual growth, that is a big deal. Like, the city of Mississauga didn't just allow me to start like teaching. Like I had to literally put a fucking 40-page document on the desk, like a strategic planning model, and said, I thought about this shit very deeply. Here's what it is. Here's how it works. Oh, wow. Okay, go do it. So I said, all right. And literally it was community development 101, like the pragmatics of community development. All the shit that I went to school for, that I learned for the intention of spreading and sharing the knowledge. The thing is, I went to school between 2001 to what? 2015, post-secondary, so that I can share this knowledge. Like I literally, first I went to art school, then community development for like about 3 years. Then I went to university for 6 years while I was teaching, while I was traveling, working in the prisons in the Arctic and doing all my stuff. But everything was for the intention of sharing and passing on the knowledge. That's why it's so deeply ingrained in Ground Illusionz and all the projects that I was doing. I never wanted to hold like competitive battles. I thought it was a waste of time, in my personal opinion, because it was a rat race to me. And I won enough battles early on to know that it was, in my personal opinion, it was not that it was a waste of time. I'm not trying to crush people's dreams, but it was not really what the essence of this culture is really
It's
about.
hollow.
This cult, it's hollow, man. And it's kind of like you can do it and like grow yourself and challenge yourself and be proud of yourself. And there's nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful to do that. But if that's all your focus is on like trying to be like an imaginary king of a fake mountain, what's going to happen is you're going to be at the top of a mountain. You're going to look around you and there's nobody there. And that's I learned that from Bounce, really. When I went to Japan my first time in 2008, I traveled to Yamanashi. I traveled hours in the middle of buttfuck nowhere just to meet this guy. And those were the first things he told me. He says, everybody wants to be the best. Everybody wants to be famous. La, da, 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 da. And then when you get there, you have to say all the right things. You have to dress the right way. You have to think everything right. You have to do everything right. The moment you do something a little bit wrong, you get crucified. And on top of that, you realize you're at the top, but you're not really at the top because you have nobody with you because you already punked off everybody. And I see that a lot. I see that a lot. And I'm kind of like, nah, I'm not interested in that. What I care about is actually being able to still do this stuff and people around me happy doing it. And then they grow in their lives. And a lot of the Ground Illusionz members became successful outside of breakin. You know, they became engineers. We have like fucking 3 engineers in our crew. We have dancers in a crew that became professional designers, HR people. The list goes on, you know what I'm saying? And I was like, to me, that's the win. That's the success. Like you're learning to dance, you're having a good time, you're doing your shit, but like you're going to school, like you're getting a fucking education, you're getting a career, you're learning how to like do your shit the way that you want to do it. To me, that's the illest shit. So that was like the main focus. And we wanted to really like show and you know, I guess show and prove, but demonstrate that like you can still be top tier and be an artist about your shit and care about that and still enjoy other things in your life and be successful at that stuff, you know? I mean, I personally, for me on that end, it was creating events, learning how to administer pedagogy, learning andragogy, learning about how to do these particular things in the community that a lot of people are just jumping onto now. I was doing 17 years ago. So it's kind of like when I see it now, I'm happy that people are jumping on it now. But there's a lot of information on myself, guys like Michael Prosterman and a lot of other guys who were teaching and stuff we accumulated over the years. And it has a lot to do not with just winning battles. And I think this is the biggest deterrent of breakers. That's why you're not seeing a lot of breakers, new breakers, because it's fucking intimidating. And especially for the B girls too. Every time a B girl comes into the session, you guys know what happens.
Yeah.
You know, guy trying to hit on the girl,
100%.
you know, stuff like that. And for me personally, it's like I grew up with an older sister, as I mentioned, with my mom, all the stuff. And, you know, and just the way that I am, I'd rather speak to a room of women than a room of guys. And I just enjoy having a dialogue and I'm in touch with that feminine part of myself. So it's kind of like, it was always easier for me to communicate and train B girls. It was always easier for me to be more approachable in that kind of respect, stuff like that. You know what I mean? So when you're looking at things on a grassroots level, then it becomes more fun for people to come around and see the opportunities of how they can cultivate their growth. And that's the main thing. And that's why you're not seeing a lot of new breakers in Toronto and stuff, is because nobody understands what that's really about or how to administer that. So, I mean, I've taken a step back from the community because it got a little bit too heated. And it was making me feel very aggressive and rehashing like traumas from that I had 20 years ago. So I'm like, I don't need that. And now look, I look in Toronto, I'm like, why? Oh, there's no new students. So I wonder why. You know what I'm saying? I'm not trying to take fucking sole credibility because there's people out there doing work. You know, there's a lot of people out there doing work, man. They are. But there is streams of knowledge and bloodline of knowledge, not just in the dance and the essence itself, but in how you integrate it into the community and how you cultivate people through it. You know what I mean?
It's all about sharing the knowledge, yo. That's how you.
How do you feel?
You open, build it, share it.
If you're running a competition, just say you are running a competition, and you want to have something out there that will. Okay, basically, I'm just thinking of this thing. I was thinking of this like when we were talking to Mass like a little bit before, and like I'm thinking like, red, so like silverback, right? some of the times when like people like Silverback was a huge jam when it first came out. Like everyone went, and then it went to the next one. Like less people went, and then it went to the next one, and then it was like dramatically way less. And I feel like when you go to those big jams, it's like you see the same b-boys every time, and they're obviously going to qualify because they're the best competition b-boys. So I'm thinking, why there's nothing that will make someone who's a mid-tier b-boy, even a beginner, like there's nothing there for them besides the show of watching like big b-boys.
Yeah, it's part of it.
So yeah, so I was thinking, I'm thinking like is somehow you can have a sub like contest or some sort of sub event for people who aren't like the highest level, and like,
kind of like
I don't know,
kind of like what Unity did, like with the high school battles and stuff like that. Because I felt
Yeah,
like
that was very
yo,
important.
for my generation during that time when the Unity battles were happening, yo, that's when we all wanted to break, yo. Like that was when like we that's how we found our rivals, yo. Sinister Syndicate, you have us,
Yeah.
Psycho, yo. That was the time, yo.
Yeah, and that's what Dizzy was trying to do. And that's what Dizzy was trying to do back in '99. He was trying to make an environment for, you know, a lot of people slam on Dizzy, you know what I'm saying? And you know, but like that's one of the things that I can appreciate about what Carl was trying to do is he was trying to make it so that it was accessible for our generation. You know, he actually, I really believe that he'd care about that, you know? And it was along the time when it was like, you know, it was hip hop jams. And you got to be over age. You got to be plus 19 to reach a lot of these jams. You know what I'm saying? And if there was all ages jams, it was mad gutter, mad grimy. So it was kind of like he was doing that. So yeah, to have events that are considering younger generations is cool. But I personally think that, and here's the conflict. There's a bit of a dichotomy here is our culture is rooted in the party. Like if you really want to break and be a breaker, you got to be going to the jam and the party and staying until the lights come on, like dancing, like party dancing the whole time. And then the one point of the party, you throw down at that one part when it's like the break and the climax. And that's what the breaker is, the b-boy, the b-girl, you know? So but with that comes drinking, with that comes smoking, with that comes all this other stuff. And that's part of the culture, man. So that's challenging. So when you want to make something for the younger people, which is what, you know, I tried to do, and what I did with the younger guys in my crew is we worked with the municipalities, we worked with other organizations, not-for-profits, all kinds of shit. And we found any opportunity to create events and experiences that were cool for everybody so that the guy can bring the girlfriend and she's having a good time. The mom and the auntie and the father's there, they're going to have a good time. You know, it's bigger than hip hop. Like Dead Prez, it's bigger than hip hop. And that's the thing is everyone is trying to be like the most raw, you know, and I'm like, you're actually not really raw. You're just fraudulent because you're not a full-fledged artist thinking with the mind of considering other people in the community. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it doesn't work a lot, is because everyone's like, oh, battle this, battle that, battle that. I'm like, why don't you throw a jam where it's actually a party and there's stuff going on and people are going to learn something? Like when I threw Behavior, we brought Maurizio. You know, brought Maurizio to Canada, his first time ever. Can you imagine that? This guy never been to Canada. He came to Canada at the jam, and we had like a bus of knowledge. Literally, we had a bus, people going on getting knowledge. This guy was spinning 45s, killing it, and there was no battles. And everyone had such a wonderful time. And I'm like, you can have a great jam, a great time without battles like that. Maybe exhibitions are always fun. You know what I'm saying? But consider how you can create experiences for others where like business is not the forefront, you know, fame and credibility and all stuff is not the forefront. The forefront, number one, is the children. Forefront number one is the community itself, so that they break the stigma around what's going on, so that they understand that this is a beautiful dance and you can learn a lot through it in your life. When that becomes a central focus, your vibe changes completely. How you treat your peers, how you train with your people, how you treat your rivals. I treat my rivals like a samurai. I am civil with my rivals. I treat them with the same amount of respect that they give me. You know what I'm saying? I can talk to my rivals and be cool. But if you come at me hard, I will give you like tenfold even more, no matter what.
That sword,
with a sword, right? Before Flea Rock was throwing a sword, I was throwing a sword a long time ago. All right. Okay. And that's what you want to look at. It is what it is, right? But I gotta acknowledge that guy was dancing way longer than me. But what I'm saying is, when I'm saying this is, if you have your intention and your purpose and your vision outlasts the person, that's good. And that's something that Michael Prosper, like Pieces, had when he started Unity. He always talked about the vision will outlast the person. He was right about that. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, you know, people talk to me in a certain context, and a lot of people got me twisted. They think I'm a serious guy. I have conviction, I'm passionate, but I'm a silly motherfucking dude.
I know you like the comic books, baby. I know you like the comic books.
Yeah, man. Look behind me. There's like 2,000 books.
Bam, there you go.
Literally. So I'm a silly guy. You know, I really enjoy having a lighthearted time and enjoying myself, but I'm serious about my art practice, and I'm serious about, you know, allowing people and giving them a shot to be the best that they can be. And I take that very seriously. And I fight for my crew. I fight for my community. I fought for a long time. I had to break down a lot of doors, a lot of walls. You know, people don't know how many times in my city I got turned down. I got no, or people used to try to diss me early in the scene. They thought I wasn't going to amount to anything. And next thing you know, literally a few years later, I'm winning all the battles and shit. Or none of my students are winning battles. You know, I go, where are the students that are winning world-class battles? There aren't that many. So it's kind of like, you have to look, like, get rid of the ego, look at, you know, what was there and why that's that way, and just learn and just be cool, be humble and exchange knowledge. I'm down. I teach anybody from any crew. I don't care who you are. If you come with me with respect, they give it that way. And that's the mentality that we had in our community, which helps build the community, bro, to answer your question, you know?
Yeah, that really
hear that, James? You're moving to Hamilton, bro. You're going to get the knowledge from Frost when you head there.
Oh, yeah,
man, I'm going to learn from you, too. I'm going to learn from you, too.
Yeah.
It's an
I
exchange,
can't wait
baby.
to I'm hyped for that, bro. I'm fucking...
Man,
I'm ready for that shit, bro.
Yo, when Gizmo was coming around, bro, Gizmo was always like, yo, how do you do that move? How do you do the head spin? And you're like, bro, you're fucking Gizmo. What are you asking us to do that shit? And you know what he would tell us? He would be like, yeah, I can do it, but you do it different. I want to know how you do it. You know what I mean? Any of the guys that I consider a mentor, whether it's Paul One or Wiggles or any of these guys I spent time with and learned from, who took time to fucking give me anything, they're the fucking coolest, most humble and chill people you can ever meet, man. You know what I mean?
Cool. I met him one time in Germany. That man's so fucking cool, bro.
Yeah, he's legit. He's real people, man. So it's like, that's the type of shit that I love. You know, I love that type of vibe, you know, and, you know, big up to a lot of guys in our country. A lot of guys inspired my style, you know, who I learned a lot from, like Crazy Smooth, you know, Forever Fresh, Raul, Tintin. Like, these guys are older than me, man. Zig, like, a lot of these guys inspired you. Buddha, you know, everybody, man. They really took me under their wing, and they shared a lot with me because they were very generous with their knowledge, man. Very generous people, man.
You really spoke on something about having a party. There's no parties anymore. I remember when I started, there was like Dizzy's what's it called? Dizzy's bachelor party. And like fucking and it was like it was like Kid Glide versus J Rebel, and then Puzzles versus Miracles. Like, oh shit. And the whole time was just a party. And I was like, that was like my first, like, holy. Yeah, bro. Like, there's not really a thing no more. Yeah, I wish I'd never went. I never went. I was too young. I was too young for Andy's.
Man, Benzo really fucking held it down. Like, all those older guys, man. Like Benzo, Heist, Q, all of them really, like, they held it down to make some type of experience. But really, I give it up to Benzo for holding that night. And then when Gadget came back on the scene in 2009, and I spent a lot of time with Nathan. And the thing is, when he came back on the scene, a lot of people were kissing his ass because he's like, oh shit, Boogie Brats. But you know, like I told you, my older sister, my cousin is the same age and all that shit generation. So that's another thing that allowed me throughout the world. I never went around the world and jock ride nobody. I went just as myself. I don't get starstruck. And that's why, you know, Nate gravitated towards me. We have a lot of things in common, and he has the same birthday as my best friend who passed away, April 4th. So him and I had like a natural bond, like a family bond. So he really put me on when I started going to the States a lot more. But Andy's, the vibe that we held at Andy's, and when GWS came around, you know, and everybody was just throwing down the Andes. That was the party vibe. That was hip hop. That's my, if you're gonna ask my favorite era of Toronto,
Oh, I was gonna.
my favorite.
There you go.
My
How
favorite.
did you know,
My favorite
bro?
era was there. No, I got ESP, man. It's part of my powers, man. Yeah. So like, yeah, man. So the thing is like, that was my favorite era because all the crews in the Toronto scene were looking at each other with like respect and like and like it was an equal playing ground, and everybody was bigger minded. Everybody was like thinking about the world, you know, and supporting each other. Like, you know, if fam was out there fucking repping, we'd be cheering them on, or vice versa, or like anybody, you know. And I mean, I'm still that way. You're from Toronto, I give you fucking respect. Unless you're gonna try to punk me, then, you know, fuck you, you know. But still, you know, still, I'll give you respect no matter where you're from. And that was my favorite era. It was straight up, you know, Andes, everybody's getting down together, everybody's sharing together, drinking together, having smoke together, having a laugh together, showing each other respect, learning from each other indirectly or directly. You know, I learned so much shit from my peers, man, from MEC, from albino zebras, conscious souls. Like, I mean, I learned how to rainbow from Nastic. You know what I'm saying? Like, I learned how to, you know what I'm saying? I learned how to do my reverse, my swipe from the back from floor play. Like, I learned from all my peers, man, across different crews and shit. We all learned from each other. You know, I learned some things from Switch. Like, he inspired me too, man. Like, all these guys, we all inspire each other, man. So that was my favorite time, when everybody was just, the guys who were from here really built like a respectable relationship and camaraderie. And anyone who's coming from out of town, they obliged by the culture here, not the other way around.
Yeah.
Now I find it's a little bit the other way around. People from outside of town are coming here and they're bringing the whatever they're from their path coming here, but it's kind of tainting it, in my personal opinion. I love globalization. I love people coming from outside, but there's a particular way that we were doing things here that was conducive to building a community. And a lot of us worked really hard over the years and sacrificed a lot to build the community where we can all really grow together mutually. And it's not like that anymore. So it's unfortunate, you know?
Sure, that makes
Do you
sense.
feel like the newer, I guess if the newer generation of like Toronto breakers, do you feel like they still embody the same Toronto style of when I started and like when you were like battling all the time at jams? Or you feel like it's different, you know? I feel like the style, like the move. Yeah, the moves are different. Like, it's not like all legwork, but the mentality I feel is still there, you know?
I disagree with you. I think personally, it's a carbon copy and a regurgitation of the past. And if you look at Bag of Tricks and Boogie Brats, they were all about being unique and original and trying to come up with things. Like, even when Gadget came back, he came back and he advanced his style and do things that he didn't do before and had nothing to do with the Toronto style. And in fact, that's why he went out and really linked with Fleo and Promo and all those guys and Vicious and shared with them, because they didn't have this Toronto style like dogma. You know what I'm saying?
The box,
and really in the box, right? And it's like, I advocated Toronto style. Not necessarily. I advocated the people within Toronto who granted the style and their mentality. And that's the difference. That's why if you watch me break, I have a definitive way that I get down. Because I really try to work at that. Because, you know, so what I'm saying is that a lot of people are now just carbon copying and regurgitating, and it's part of the language, it's part of the evolution. Now it's a canon, right? But the mentality is not the same. The approach and the mentality is one of a follower mentality. It's not of a leader mentality.
Okay, I see what you mean now.
You know what I'm saying? It's like, and I learned that from Silence, from Bag of Tricks, you know, because I remember, I'll never forget this, 2007. He asked me, what are you working on? I said, oh, I'm working on my power, man. I'm working on spinning more. And he's like, fuck that. Like, what do you mean? I'm like, you know, I'm starting to connect my combos now, you know? I'm like, what do you mean? And he goes, oh. He goes, no, man, you want to really do something? Be a leader. Like, blaze your own trail. Do the shit that no one else is doing. That's how you really be Toronto head. They're like real Toronto style is doing shit that no one else is doing. But what I see, that's right. What I see here is people looking at what everyone else is doing and being like, oh, that looks good. It's making them successful. I should do it too. Oh, I'm going to change it a little bit.
Mhm.
No. That's incorrect in my personal opinion. That's not what you do. Because if you were to do that at university, what's the professor going to do to you?
You're expelled, son.
You lose your
Yeah.
marks, you plagiarization, right? So
Yeah.
for me, it's like anything that I do that resembles any of the guys in the past is because they gave that shit to me directly.
Mhm. Dun, dun, dun.
Right?
Yes.
Right? So anything in my
Yeah.
vocabulary, I can name everything in my vocabulary and where it comes from, who it comes from, why it comes from there, and everything. And I give respect where it's due no matter what. And that's the difference, is that people now, you know, and I'm saying this hopefully is like a spank in the bum to everybody, is be yourself. Literally, you have a culture, your parents brought you up a certain way, you like things, you hate things, just do that. You know, take from the canon, but really just be yourself, man. Because when you get out there in the world, people, they'll recognize the slang and the dialect of your language, but really they're gonna respect you for you being yourself, you being genuine about what you're doing, authentic to your own experience, and that's what it is. You know what I'm saying? And you know, like, here's the thing is the search for creativity and search for originality, all the stuff is thick with it. But if we're not going back to the essence and understanding the whole flow of, you know, where things came from and why they are what they are, then we're just reinventing the wheel all the time, and we're not really contributing to the conversation that's been happening before us, and it ends up becoming hollow. You know what I'm saying? It ends up becoming like a lot of fancy moves and clever stuff without purpose, intention, and fire and conviction, you know what I'm saying, in the music. And that's what I see. I see a lot of beautiful pieces of work. I see everyone's like form is improving, connections are getting better, combinations are cool, but there's some shit that's missing, man.
Yeah, there's no character moves anymore. There's no
I
characters
liked it
anymore,
when
yo.
I
There's
liked
no
it when
character.
people didn't have like perfect form. You know, I kind of like a little bit of sloppiness will show you like who you are. Like,
Me too.
Yeah.
Because you're a human being. You're a human being.
Bro.
Yeah, most
Yeah,
I
you
think
know?
nowadays, and especially in competition wise, everyone focuses a lot on the technicalities and like the details, but they lose the character.
Because they want to win.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
that's
superficial.
Like, and of course,
superficial.
that's kind of the direction where the scene is going now, especially with like the
Olympics.
Olympics. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you know, like, look, to me, here's the thing is, I think people have it asked backwards. I truly, like, I just had a conversation with Beta online about this shit. We were talking about this and how everybody, oh, you know, top rock don't matter, all this stuff. No, it's not true.
Oh,
it's not
you
true.
read our mind again, because that was also gonna be another question.
It doesn't matter. It's like this. When you're learning the language, you're learning English language, right? You're learning, what do you got to do when you learn the English language first?
Yeah.
You got to learn the alphabet, any language. You got to learn the alphabet. You know, you need to learn like not just the fancy words and the sentences, but we understand the context and how to enunciate and how to, what the punctuation is and at what time to say and speak certain things in terms of conduct. And that's part of culture, because cultures change, you know? And really, when you look at how the dance started, everything is informed from the actual, the groove itself, deep inside the music, and the sweep, where all the moves came from is the sweep. You know what I'm saying? So it's like when we dive deep into that and we start to understand the story within it, then all of the things that you desire in your breaking are going to come to pass. And you know what, man? Look at Illz, man. He's a good example when it comes down to creating the material and delivering it in a unique way and executing it well, which is what people want. They want to be able to be themselves, execute an efficient way, win the battle, be renowned, and be clean. Yes, cool. But what about, like I said, what about when you're in a circle, in a dark circle, with all the OGs who are way older than me, who are real OGs? I'm not a real OG. I'm an OG of my crew. But you're in a circle like that and you're getting down and there's no room to do all your fancy moves. You're in a tight ass circle and you never heard the music before. And you're around all these guys who are like, you know, and if you can hold your own in those type of spaces and come up with shit on the spot and make moves on the spot, and like really have real conviction in your heart. Like people see your fucking heart and they see your soul. That's when you're on another level of the dance, and you go deep inside the dance, deep inside the whole essence of the culture. That's when you start to make change. And when you go in that order, then when you go into the jams, you're shining with a different type of like vibe, man. You have this aura about you. Everything you do is beautiful and it's butter, man. So I think people have to ask backwards.
Real B-boy. That's what I meant about like this top rock doesn't matter shit. And people just heard the top rock don't matter and they're like, okay, what the fuck? But it's like, it's all about competitions now. Like you said before, like it's all superficial. It doesn't matter. Like if you're really dancing, if you're really dancing and you're a real dancer and you like I said, like people used to go to parties and shit. I used to go to party jams. Like you can't just run moves. You're gonna first off you're gonna run out and then you look like an idiot because you're just gonna do six steps all day or some shit.
You're gonna
you
crash.
actually have to be a dancer. Yeah, for sure. Inevitable crash. But like no one like that's when people were dancing. I saw people dancing.
And that's what you're saying.
Competitions you don't see people dancing. They're just running shit, especially for men. Like, B girls still dance. That's still like the last. I feel like that's like the last like bastion of actual fucking breaking is like B girl.
A lot of B girls getting down. Yeah, they're dancing.
But
they feel
like
music.
I feel like in big competitions, which is pretty much what everyone sees now. It's big competitions,
very
like
technical.
you just run shit. You've seen this before. You've seen it like the last fucking big jam they did. You see it at Silverback. You saw a Red Bull like the week before. Like no real progression. But like if you're actually dancing, like that's when you should. That's top rock matters then. But people actually dance.
The thing is, your top rock is gonna like inform everything that you're doing inside of your dance itself. You know, like the root of all the things you like when you're doing footwork, you're top rocking on the ground. Like when you think about it like that, when you're doing your freeze, is like when you stop in the top rock.
I think the Zoom is gonna end any second. You
know?
So.
We're gonna do the thing again.
This
okay,
is part.
Cool. So James.
All right,
so recording.
Yeah, we're recording now. Let's go.
So James, I totally understand what you're saying. You know, it's like you are making a social commentary on all that, and that's why that line came out. Top rock doesn't, because you see what that is, right? And you're right, man. You're so right, bro. Like I couldn't agree more. It's that mind, but you know, it really isn't that. It's the silver lining and superficial. It's kind of like you see an for a cis male, you see an attractive female and you're like, she's fucking slamming, her ass is good, her face is hot, like all these superficial things. She got a nice car, all this different stuff, and you're like, really, you're gonna like her for all that stuff, eh? Like, it's gonna attract you, but then their personality not there, the brain is not there. You know what I mean? I'm like, you're missing out on the truth of what's going on. So breaking a lot similar. Remember, Common says hip hop is a female, and he's right. You know what I'm saying? I used to love her. I still love her, right?
Right.
So when you look at it like that, you treat it a little bit different, I think, you know?
Yeah. We're back, by the way. This is part 3.
We're back.
So let it be known, James has retracted his.
Oh no, I understand how James means.
Yeah, true.
It's just breaking.
I had to clarify my statement.
True.
I had to clarify my statement when I was drunk, and that's why which we're gonna lead to the next statement. Someone's gonna start. I heard little birdies saying someone might start their own podcast.
Oh yeah, yo, Frost. Yeah, Frost. Yo, I heard you're gonna make a podcast. Yo, I remember.
If you're drinking,
people have been asking me. Yeah. You know, when you're drinking, you'll say some funny shit. Yeah, I hear
you. You'll say some shit that you're like, oh fuck. The next day you're gonna be like, what the fuck did I say? And you're gonna be hearing about it forever.
I've been there, man. I've definitely been there. I remember a long time ago I said some shit to City in Halifax that I totally regret saying because I was drunk, you know. Yeah, I told him I actually fucking smoked you on the show, man, in front of guys. Son. Oh man, I'm sorry, City. Yeah. But you know, a lot of people have been asking me over the years if I'm gonna use my voice, use my word to speak and have these types of talks, you know, these discussions and stuff, and you know, get a chance to be lighthearted about it, because I find that when I get interviewed and when people ask me, there's a lot of, you know, there's serious things that come up, and then like, you know, my passion comes out, and people see like one side of me only, and it's like I have a lot of different sides to me. I'm a Gemini moon, right? So like, you know, I would love to do some type of podcast that doesn't it's not like what you guys are doing. It's something different, so that, you know, because I'm not somebody who likes to step on people's toes. Absolutely not.
It's the internet. There's so much space.
Yeah,
it doesn't
there's
matter.
there's space in general, you know, but really, like, that again, just to reemphasize, that's my mind. I'm always somebody who is like, you know, I like social enterprise, you know, I like reciprocity. I like when everybody's eating and everyone has a full stomach, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think like this idea that I'm thinking about for a podcast of some sort is really, it has a lot more to do with gathering artists of all kinds. It's not just about breaking, it's just all artists of all kinds, you know, and finding out what makes people tick and how they can live a lifestyle that is conducive to their happiness, you know, to do their thing and actually contribute to life, right?
Yeah, that's sick, yo. Did you settle on a name yet?
Not yet. And I mean, I have some ideas, but I don't want to give it away yet.
Okay,
you know,
Is it going to be
disservice to
just
that.
you? Is it going to be just you interviewing, or is it going to be you fresh?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
I'm
Are you
looking
still
for perhaps a co-host. I've been putting it out there, you know, maybe a female to make the energy mixed, you know, to have masculine, feminine energy and crisscross it. I don't know, maybe.
There's no podcast with B-girls really.
Yeah, there
There's
isn't
interviews,
actually.
but,
Yeah,
like,
there isn't any actually. Yeah.
There aren't, and if there aren't many. So that's another reason why I'd want to get it doesn't have, and she doesn't have to be, or they do not have to be a B girl. They could be an artist somewhere else, but they gotta have an in-depth scope and be eclectic like myself, you know, like to be into all kinds of shit and talk about it and just have a good time, you know. And I and I don't want it to be too serious.
Yeah.
Like I really like what you guys are doing, you know. I said early on to you guys, I give you guys some constructive criticism in the past. Personally, you know, but I just do that all the time in general.
No, that's good, yo. We love hearing that kind of thing. Like it's good to, like, that's how you get better in, like, even in any art form, in any space, like podcasting, breaking, you gotta hear like some feedback, right? That's part of it.
And you know, and like I just like that it's lighthearted and it's fun and we just joke around, talk, you know, be silly, and that's cool. To me, that's fun.
There's other vibes, like, you know, like Donkey has his vibe of, like, you know, like kind of like competition, you kind of like just watch along. It's like your boys watching battles together. Like us, it's gonna be like you just finished practice and it's like we're at the Tim Hortons and chilling, you're talking shit. That's our vibe, because that's what we used to do all the time.
That's where the name that's where the name also comes, like, it's just breaking.
It's just breaking. That's right. Cool.
So literally what we used to do, like after practice, we would stay at this Tim Hortons by fucking East Shore. And we got like one fucking donut, and then we just chill for at least 4 hours, man.
Yeah, and just talk. You break bread with your friends.
Shit, like,
exactly.
So much shit. So many stories we got. We should have
really healthy to do that.
Yeah. And that's how you develop the bonds with your crew too. Like, I feel like after a jam, after practice, you guys eat dinner, hang around for 2 hours. That's when you like build that chemistry with the crew.
That's right. Yeah, you're right about that, man. That's definitely. We used to go for pho a lot. That was our thing.
That's the spot, baby. Let's go.
That sounds way better.
Yeah,
than
that was our thing.
When you lose
we enjoyed it. For sure.
True. All
So
right,
you guys got more questions for me? What's going on?
Yeah.
I talk so much.
All right. Let's go. Let's do
Okay, we're rapid fire these.
So here's a fun question. You've taught many students, so who would you say was your best or your favorite student to teach? Not the best, but let's say. There you go, Illz, baby. Let's go, yo.
Yeah, Illz. Or who else was really fun to teach? Oh man, I'd say Tiff, because Tiff is like really like, she's very like driven and very like
wants to win.
Yeah, she's like, at the same time she's very how can I say it? She's got stars in her eyes, and she knows how to laugh at herself too.
Yeah, she's silly.
So she's silly, and I really like that. And like when you teach people, they have to be willing to fall 1,000 times, you know, and have a lighthearted but still be serious about what they're doing. So those two, also little Roman Pacino, who's like a young actor now and like Netflix and shit. You know? Yeah, he's definitely one of my favorites.
Damn.
Obviously, you know, Brand and Ali, all those guys. But I'd say, I mean, I could go on. Everybody has their own. Everyone's so special, man. Like Damon, like teaching Damon and Yumi. Oh man, we have so much chemistry. Damon, people used to call us brothers because we look like brothers. We had bushy, long, curly hair. You know, and Yumi was like my sister. We had perfect chemistry. Her footwork got better than mine. Like, so everybody I've taught is special to me in my heart, man. Everyone.
That's sick, yo. All right, next question.
Next rapid fire.
Yo,
Okay, go ahead. Me? Okay.
favorite b-boy currently competing in Canada.
In Canada?
Or from Canada,
Or world, Canada, and
From
then the world.
Oh man, well, you know, I really love what Phil's doing. You know, I appreciate Mass as well, obviously. You know, and then the guys in my crew and all the guys in my crew, I look up to them. They're younger than me. I look up to them, man. Each one teach one. So I really love what those guys are doing on the battle floor for sure. You know?
Sick, yo.
Oh yeah. Rapid fire question. Okay, when I first started like seeing you around the Pride jams and stuff, every time I saw you, every time it was another jam, next jam, you always had different hairstyles, different facial hair. What was your favorite hairstyle you had?
Oh man.
Nice.
Good question. I'd say. What were we gonna say?
Because you had a long hair. I think you had a mullet at one point.
In a mullet?
I think you had like this
Damn.
thing, and then you had like the chin hair. I remember it was in the commercial for the Unity one.
Oh yeah. I'm a chameleon, man. So like, you know, a lot of my inspirations are not breakers, and they're like other artists or musicians and stuff. And you know, I'm an artist, man. I don't want to be looked at as a breakdancer or a b-boy, none of that, you know. I say breakdancer on purpose, you know. I'm not trying to be looked at as a b-boy all the time. I'm an artist. I'm a transient artist. I can't be put in a box. You know, yes, I did community work for a long time and all this different stuff, but it's kind of like, I'm an artist, man. I draw, I paint, I write, I play music, all that shit, man. I do poetry, all that, you know. So for me, changing my styles was very just normal and natural, so that I wouldn't get bored and that I have something to present for people all the time. Some of my favorite hairstyles, I think 2007, my old hairdresser Yumi, she cut my hair a certain way where it was kind of like it was a bit shorter, but it was like more Afro style, and it reminded me of Mighty Mouse from Boogie Brats. So like, because he had really like curly hair, you know, like, and for me, Mighty Mouse was one of my early inspirations as well. So for me, that was a time where I was training like really hard. So I really loved that. I used to have like a long braid.
Yeah, I remember the braid. Oh yeah, I was gonna say
it was like a Jedi braid, you know. And
the Padawan braid.
He got the same one, the Padawan braid. You know, I like that. I did have a bit of a mullet, like the way Nick Robinson has his hair. I had that, but it was long. I just shaved the sides off, you know. And you know, I mean, I don't mind having shaved. I love having shaved head. I used to have a shaved head with a braid as well. I'm kind of growing something like that now, but.
He was just trying to tell me to do that right now. He was like, "Yo, you should get the Padawan braid." I'm like,
"You get the Padawan braid." Yeah, it's interesting, yeah, because you know your hair is spirit. Yeah, do it. Fuck, man, your hair is spirit, you know, and it's trippy. Like I remember I was growing my hair long, and back in the day I dyed my hair a lot. I had different color hair, you know, like red hair and blue hair and blonde. I had all these colors, you know, in my hair. But I remember when I started to grow it very long, and the longest it was like down, you know, down to past my shoulder, by my elbow almost and stuff. And a lot of people used to try to clown the fact that I had long hair. But then when you look at Mr. Wiggles, he had long hair. You know what I'm saying? And like Tony from Bag of Tricks, Boogie Brats, he always used to tell me, he's like, "Man, that shit right there, those locks, that's what we used to do." That's also on some West Coast shit. So all the guys who were older than me, they always encouraged me to keep growing my hair long. Before it was a popular thing to do. Now everybody growing their hair and their beards long, all this different stuff. But when I was doing it, not a lot of people were doing it. But one guy I'd say that really inspired me to grow my shit like a lot like that was Dedos from Contents Under Pressure. Dedos had a big fucking beard in the Clash of the Titans video. I love that shit. Rudy Goblin had like a long hair and all of that.
Oh, you are.
There, I'm good. Yeah. So Rudy Goblin had, you know, so I started growing it out. And also, you know, because I've been around a lot of indigenous, communities and people, you know, when you're growing your hair, it's your spirit. Yeah. Your hair has a lot to do with your spirit. So it's like that. It's really potent in there. And I honestly felt that a lot. My hair had a deep connection with that. So, you know, I always try to play with it and cut it around and grow it really long and stuff. And the last thing I could say about that is when I cut my hair after growing it really long in 2006, my homie Rush from Soul Step, he was like, He's like, fuck, man, why'd you cut your hair, man? Your hair. He goes, your hair was so long. That's so hip hop. And he said that, and I was like, word? And I was like, you're right.
Girl,
It
man.
was to be free, you know, to like let go and to just like, you know, go off and grow yourself and cultivate yourself. And that's what it meant to me to grow my hair long. And that's always, you know, and then eventually, you know, Illz followed that full step.
Oh yeah, yeah,
that
long,
step,
long
you
hair,
know?
yo. True.
Illz is
He
another
grew his-
chameleon.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, he's my protege. He took after me, you know what I'm saying? So I know that influenced his style, like the way he dressed and his hairstyles and that stuff, because he took after me, you know, and it really made me feel emotional when he was at a freestyle session in
The long
2014.
hair? Yeah, with the long hair. Killed it.
And he went with the long hair and he was wearing like, you know, the tunic, like that tunic, you know, all that stuff. And dashiki. And like that, I was actually supposed to go with him. But, you know, things changed in personal life and I couldn't go anymore. And, you know, when he became successful in that thing, I was at a bar and I heard the news and I got emotional about it. And I looked at what he was wearing and I was like, you know, fuck, man, it brought a tear to my eye, because that's straight up like I was supposed to be there with him, dressed the same way or dressed the same way. You know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be like that, right? So yeah, man, I love to play with clothing and fashion. My sister really put me on that when I was a little kid, you know, changing my hairstyles, all that stuff. I love it. I love all kinds of music, so it just works for me.
True. All right, your next rapid fire question is
okay, I was gonna say
who are your great, or who would you consider in your competitive career was your greatest rival? If you, or like maybe like some names like that come into
have
mind.
names, yeah. I mean, my first one was J Rebel.
J Rebel. Oh, okay.
J Rebel was the first guy that we had like a rivalry. Armageddon, Troubles. We had some rivalries like that. I'm trying to think of who else. I don't know. To me, those are the only ones I can think of, really, because they were like local, you know. Because honestly, my mentality was, it didn't matter who you are on the floor. I don't even see you. To me, I'm battling myself like Bruce Lee. So you know, and that's why I was never intimidated by anybody. You know, I would battle them, and I felt comfortable. No rivals, have no enemies that way.
Nice.
All right, next question. My favorite question. When is the time that you've smoked somebody? When's the time you've been smoked by somebody?
Oh man, so one time, I'll never forget this, man. It was it was like there's times where I've burned people and stuff, because you know, you can ace somebody, burn them, or you can smoke them, you know. And like I remember when I fucking smoked the shit out of somebody was I was in Ottawa and I was his journey back to the essence, Crazy Smooth Through a Jam. It's an underground battle. And it was a heavy battle, man. It was like a half an hour cypher qualifier. Then it was like a top like 32 or 16. I can't remember. What I remember is that each round was like 4 throwdowns. What the fuck? Like 3 or 4 throwdowns. It was a heavy battle. But the day before, I was in Ottawa having a good old time. And there was a guy, I don't want to mention his name.
Oh, good.
Okay.
Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Because I don't, you know, I mean, I have a kind heart, you know what I'm saying? So fucking, this guy was trying to, you know, teach some of the B girls, the local B girls, some backflips and all this shit. And, you know, we're all like doing stuff, acrobatics, you know. So my homegirl, you know, Marie was there, and Julie Rock and Nene, you know, Mary Pierre, my sisters, you know, my homegirl. So we're all there, and this one dude was like, his machismo was like going off the charts, you know what I'm saying? And then he's like, "All right, everyone do a backflip," and he points to me. "You do a backflip?" I said, "I could do a back handspring." You know, at the time I could do one. And then they're like, "Oh, Frost, you gonna do this?" I said, "No, I'm a little bit tired today, and I don't want to hurt myself for tomorrow." And he's like, then he started kind of like calling me a pussy and
damn,
like
I hate that shit,
like
yo.
like being kind of like a dick, you know. And I'm just like, what the fuck? I'm like, who are you talking? Well, first of all, you know, watch your mouth. I'll slap you across your fucking mouth, right? Because I'm an aggressive person like that, right? I feel that way at times, you know. Although I have to put myself in check, so I kept to myself a bit. I said, "Who the fuck this guy think he is?" I said, "Okay." So the next day in the battle, this guy was in like, I think the top 8 or whatever. And I battled him. and I smoked the living shit out of them. I swear to God, I fucking swear they stopped breaking after that. And after the battle, like literally, it was like I did a bunch of different moves, like a toss-up move, I did a heart move, you know, like an alien move.
Yeah, the heart.
And there was
that movie.
well,
Yeah.
this is actually, it's the alien from, you know, Sigourney Weaver.
Predators
Okay.
or
Alien. Yeah, Ridley Scott shit. You know, that's where it comes from. But there was a song where there was the heartbeat, like, you know what I'm saying? And I literally got up and I did the heartbeat and I just jumped in his face and I was like yelling in his face and you know,
cathartic, baby.
Who's the
Let's go.
pussy now?
I was like letting it out on him, you know, and like I was getting a bit physical, you know, with him, you know, and he got really fucking humbled. And afterwards he came up to me and he apologized to me.
Nice.
And I was still a little bit sour about him. And I was like, get the fuck away from me. I wouldn't do that now,
baby. Frostbite.
but at the time I was really like, get the hell out of here, you fucking bitch. You know what I'm saying? Literally, I didn't see him break anymore. I think he stopped breaking after that shit.
You crushed his soul.
Well, you know, I mean, like, this is the thing is, if you don't know people and you don't know them personally, you should really watch what you say. That that's what men do. That's what a human being does. Is if I don't know you, I'm not going to talk shit about you. I'm not going to say shit about you. I'm not going to try to punk you in your face or try to make myself bigger than you. I'm not that kind of guy. And I grew up with people trying to bully me my whole life. Even when I got in the breaking scene, there was always people trying to bully me. So I don't stand up for that shit. So for me, I learned very early on, and even my best friend who passed away, he always used to beat the shit out of the guys who tried to bully me. And he always told me, he's like, never back down from anybody, you know? And if I do choose to back down, it's because I'm being respectful of you and myself, because I actually care. You know what I'm saying? And it takes a warrior to know when to like not fight. You know what I'm saying?
That's a great quote right there, yo. Nice.
Oh, that's not mine, but it's the truth, right? So for me, it's kind of like, you have to also know when to, you know, back yourself up. And it's what I tell B girls too, is like, stand up for yourself, honor yourself. You know, I always told the beginners that, you know, like, you don't need to bow down to any man, you know, in their expectations of you or whatever. Like, you know, at the end of the day, you put the food on your table, you know, you take care of your own body and your own life. You came into this world alone, you're going to die alone. You know, it's about you and God, you know what I'm saying? And the people around you. And that's it. So it's like, if someone is going to try to punk you, stand up for yourself. So for me, I always stand up for myself. If I feel I have to, you know what I'm saying? No matter what, I try my best to.
It's good, yo.
Yeah.
What about when you've been smoked now?
Oh man, this one time I was man. I've been burnt in my past, man, a lot. But when I got really smoked, man, like I actually got smoked by Carlos from Intricate. It was 2001, and I went out to, I think it was Waterloo or London with Jester and Ammo, and a bunch of us went out there. And I thought I could take Carlos on, and he just fucking made a fool out of me, man. He mopped up the floor with me, like all the moves I did, my whole material in the first like 2-3 rounds, and this guy was just playing with me, man. He just he made me look like I was already a beginner, but he made me look like I didn't know how to fucking break. And afterwards, well, the cool thing is that after he smoked the shit out of me, he came up to me and he goes, "You know why I smoked you?" And I said, "Yeah, well, you're better than me." He goes, "No, this is why I smoked you." And then he explained to me, he's like, "You're relying on your moves too much. You're relying on," it's like, and he told me, he goes, "This isn't about moves." He goes, "This dance is about like your communication. It's about your feeling and you being yourself in the most honest way, and you really loving that music and showing how much you love it. And if you're going to battle somebody, you're having a debate about the music. The moves and the vocabulary allow you to accurately and more clearly communicate your message, not the other way around." And he goes, "That's why I beat you, because you're relying on your moves." And I learned a very deep lesson, and that was like 20 years ago. And that really informed a lot of shit I did afterwards. And I'm lucky that I had guys like, you know, Jester and Puzzles and, you know, like Merv and Deadly and all these guys to really help me out with that. You know what I'm saying? And these days, I don't really, it's hard to get smoked when you understand yourself very well, and when you understand the music and the culture it's hard. You can get burned. You're always gonna get burned, man. But to get smoked, unless you smoke yourself and land on your mouth or something fucked up, like like nowadays I try to be more simple. I try to do a lot with very little, like Migas, you know what I'm saying? Like Migas and I would talk a lot, and the brother is always, we always talk about like, be simple but really dope simply, you know what I'm saying? And that's what a lot of the old drummers do, the classic drummers, like the illest OGs, the old men that are in their fucking 60s that are drumming. They're just, not only because they can't physically fucking go ham, but it's not because of that, it's because of the quality. Is the quality of that shuffle, the quality of those chops, like making it really nice and pristine, not being too complicated. It's like make it very good quality, and then when you choose to be complex, you're doing it with substance. You know what I'm saying? So like for me, if I've ever been smoked in the past, that's the one time I can remember being smoked. That time specifically is because I wasn't doing that. But there was one battle I remember, and it's hard to say who smoked who, but one of my favorite battles of all time was me and Nemesis. And that was in Montreal, and it was in 2010, like when, Eric, when you started breaking.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? You started breaking. I went to Fresh Format Anniversary. That's when Fleo first like really blew up the scene. And I lost in the first round because the day before, myself and Frankie were top 2. We were chosen out of like 80 people. And that was a big honor for me. And I was there to win it. That was my intention, was to win at the time, And I went in the battle, and I battled Vicious first round. And Vicious and I went to 2 tiebreakers.
Oh, that's a war.
And I ended up losing. And I, at the time, I thought that Nemesis was being biased because I was watching him afterwards, and I got really upset and called him out in a circle, and it was a really nasty battle, man. I literally spit on the floor. We were talking shit to each other. He was like, I'm going to fucking get you. He's like, my hand's hurting. I can't wait till I fucking saw. I was like, I want you to fucking break. We were just talking shit, like, like wrestlers,
That's heat.
And then next thing you know, in the cypher right beside like the judges, and it's a tight circle. And, like Moshe's there, and Abstract is there, and everybody's there. And me and this guy were really going at it. And it was some of my favorite moments, man. We were going at it so rough that it was just kind of like, all I hear is, like Adder and Abstract, like these guys got heart. Like that's what it's about, is heart, like really doing it. And at the end of everything, Nemesis and I looked at each other, and we were like, you know what, man? Like we shook hands.
You left it all on the floor, yo. Let's go.
Oh yeah, we shook hands, and we're like, yo, man, I know you. Like I can, like it's intimate experience when you battle with someone. It's very intimate, So afterwards we were cool, and we shook hands, and we're like, until next time, my friend, I'll see you sometime, And
Sick. That's so sick.
And every time we saw each other, it was nothing but love.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing but love after that, man. But that was one of the illest moments ever, because it was so rough. It was so aggressive, and it didn't get violent, and it could have, but it didn't. It ended in peace, and that's like hip hop. You know what I'm saying? Beautiful.
That's sick, yo.
Yeah, man.
It's dope. Yo, let's end it off with that amazing story. That's actually a really nice story.
Yeah.
That's a good ender right there.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
Frost,
man.
before we end, sorry, go on. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I do definitely want to say that, like, if people ever get a chance to, facilitate or teach with vulnerable communities and vulnerable populations and at-risk people, because teaching is a big thing now, and people getting out to spread the culture. Like, make sure that you're somebody who asks the right questions when the old people who are older than you are there, and it has nothing to do about your pride or ego. It's really about serving the people that you're meeting, because working with Blueprint and stuff, going out there, that when I used to work with Blueprint, like I probably went to maybe like 40 communities, like over maybe, I don't know how many years, like 15 years. Holy shit, like so many years. Right? And working in the prisons and stuff like that, working in the young offender centers where like people have murdered their own families and stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like you're working with people who've raped people, who've like, carry guns and shit, and you're exchanging energy with them. And it takes a toll on you, and you can really take a toll on somebody. So it's a big responsibility, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't always do everything right. I had to learn a lot of lessons along the way. I failed a bunch of times, and I was successful a bunch of times. But what I can definitely say in closing that, I really want to mention that because you wanted me to mention that, is like, working with Indigenous community really informed my Indigenous way of knowing, and I'm still learning more. And I'm, in fact, in Hamilton, I'm working with the Hamilton Regional Indian Center. I work with the Friendship Center. So, so I'm learning more about ceremony. I'm learning more about our Indigenous community. And I think it's important to learn about the communities that you're working with and to really equip yourself and arm yourself with the right knowledge about the dance and the culture and about why you're doing shit in the first place. Because if you do not do that, you do not only justice to the people that you're serving, but you're not really doing justice to yourself as well, especially if you like limit the access to knowledge that you're giving yourself for the sake of others. So I've always been that person. And fortunately for me, for a lot in my life, a lot of places that I've been, people have had conversations with me. They've seen me get down. And a lot of people, if not everybody I've encountered, they recognize that my sole purpose was to acquire the knowledge and to share it. So it's kind of like, if you have that mentality and it's like strictly about that, you actually can, you can get down in almost any circle, man. And I've been so fucking privileged and really lucky to be getting down in circles with some of the illest around, and it's like, I felt safe doing that, not only because, not just because of my skill. I mean, yeah, I got some skill, but I don't think I'm the fucking best breaker around. But how come I can get down with the best breakers and they acknowledge me and give me love? It's because of my heart. It's because of my spirit and my intention and my purpose. And that's why, you know what I'm saying? So some people get jealous of what I've done and who I am and where I'm at and who I'm connected with, but they're forgetting the real reason about why they're doing this dance in the first place. And it's kind of like, if you're somebody who wants to share the knowledge and spread the dance, it's like, think about why you're doing what you're doing and really ask those questions. I met Mr. Wiggles 4 days straight. I asked him nothing but questions. Every time we were like side by side in a fucking taxi, I thought very deeply about the questions that I asked. I didn't want to just, ask him bullshit. I wanted to ask him questions that had substance and that were going to allow me to give the right information to other people. You know what I'm saying? And anything that I know is not just of my own accord. Like my man Puzzle says, everything I'm teaching you has a lot. You're learning from Po One, from Freeze, from Kenny, from Migas, from Giz, from all the guys I've encountered. I'm passing that knowledge and they gave me blessing to do so. And that's the difference. So if you can do something like that with that intention, if you do that with that intention, then you're going to see the community prosper and grow a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Because it's not just about you. You know what I mean? It's not just about you. It's about the bigger picture. You know what I mean? So that's all I got to say about that shit.
100% Frost. The theme of this podcast is all about sharing
community.
the knowledge, yo. This is a podcast I really wanted to do for such a long time, Frost, and we finally got the chance to get
cool. I appreciate that you guys asked me, man. That's awesome.
We timed it just right, baby, because it's almost Christmas and you're Bboy Frost, yo. Let's go.
Presents, dog.
Yo, so before we end, so Frost, would you like to give a shout to anyone or anyone you're affiliated with, anything like that?
I just want to give a shout out to firstly my crews, like Ground Illusionz, Conscious Souls, 20th Century Bboys, Storytime. Anybody that I miss, anybody who shared knowledge with me, who's taught me, and just like anybody I've shared knowledge with, and just anybody. If you're a breaker and you love this shit, I give a shout out to you and I love you. That's it. I don't care who you are. Peace.
All right, Frost. Thank you so much. All right, have a happy holidays and Merry Christmas, yo.
Merry Christmas. Bye.
Peace. Thank you so much.
Too.